Welcome back, everyone. Today we're diving deep, as you might guess, into foraging.
Yes. It's more than just grabbing some berries on a hike, you know?
Right. Like, people are really getting into it these days.
Definitely. It's having a real moment.
So we've got tons of research here,
Oh,
going from, like, the health benefits
okay.
to how climate change might affect what we can even forage in the future.
Yeah, it's fascinating how it all ties together.
So to kick things off, I think it's interesting how foraging today seems different from, like, our ancestors just doing it to survive.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, back then, it was necessity, right?
Right. Now it's like a choice.
Exactly. It's almost like we're rediscovering this ancient knowledge,
Yeah,
Getting back in touch with nature.
totally. Plus, let's be real, grocery prices are crazy. So finding free food,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's definitely a perk.
it's appealing, right? But it's more than just like free stuff.
Oh, for sure. The flavor of wild edibles, forget about it. There's a depth there you just don't get from the grocery store.
I was reading, get this, wild dandelion greens can have like 7 times the phytonutrients of spinach from the store.
Wow. See? That's what I'm talking about. Those plants are fighting to survive out in the wild.
Right.
They got to be tough, and that makes it packed with nutrients.
So it's not just vitamins, right? We're talking stuff that can be anti-inflammatory, antioxidants,
Exactly. It's like nature's pharmacy out there.
and the variety is mind-blowing. Herbs, mushrooms, berries, nuts.
It's never ending. And each season has its own stars.
Right, like nature's gourmet grocery store, always changing. Speaking of spring, it's got to be prime time, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Spring is all about those fresh greens popping up, wild garlic, stinging nettles, dandelion.
And ramps, right. I keep hearing about those.
Ramps are amazing, that garlicky, oniony flavor. Chefs love them, but they're getting over-harvested in some areas, sadly.
That brings up a good point, doesn't it? Like, we need to forage responsibly.
Absolutely. Ethical foraging is key. Taking only what you need, leaving enough for the plants to regrow and for the wildlife.
We're just visitors, really.
Yeah, exactly. We got to be respectful guests.
So for someone totally new, how do they even know where to start? There's so much info out there.
Honestly, finding a local foraging group is huge.
Oh, good idea.
They can show you the ropes, good spots, and most importantly, how to identify things properly.
Right, because you can't just eat anything.
Definitely not. Misidentification is dangerous, so multiple ways to double-check is key. A good field guide, reliable websites, cross-referencing everything.
And never eat anything unless you're 110% sure.
Absolutely. No question about it.
It's funny, we've talked about the food, safety, all that,
Yeah,
but there's this deeper side to foraging too, isn't there?
100%. It's way more than just what you put on your plate. It's connecting with nature on a whole other level. Getting out there, taking in the sights, the smells.
It forces you to slow down, be in the moment.
Totally. And there's something so empowering about providing for yourself that way. Like our ancestors did.
Like we're tapping into this ancient wisdom that's been passed down for generations.
Right. And that's what resonates with people, I think. It's that yearning to reconnect, to find that self-sufficiency we've kind of lost.
So we talked about why forage, but what to forage. For a beginner, what are some easy, safe ones to start with?
Dandelions are a classic. You can't go wrong. They're everywhere, easy to identify, and you can eat the leaves, use the flowers for wine, even the roots.
Wait, roots? For what?
You can roast them and make a coffee substitute.
No way. I gotta try that. But aren't there poisonous lookalikes for dandelions?
There is poison hemlock, yeah, but the smell is different. Dandelion leaves have this earthy smell. Hemlock is kind of nasty.
Got it. So sniff test.
Yeah,
But still, double check everything, like you said.
always. Safety first.
What about stinging nettles? Those sound kind of scary.
They can sting, yeah. Gotta wear gloves when you pick them, but they're super nutritious, great for soups, teas, even pesto.
Huh, interesting. Any other beginner picks?
Wild garlic is a good one. Smells super garlicky, can use it like regular garlic in recipes.
So dandelions, nettles, wild garlic. Got it. Now let's say we've found our ditties, been responsible, and we're ready to cook. What are some easy, tasty ways to use these?
Well, nettle soup is a good starting point. It's simple, hearty. The nettles have this spinachy flavor that's really nice.
Nettle soup, huh? I never would have thought of that.
It's surprisingly good. You just saute some onions and potatoes, add broth, the nettles, stir, then blend it all up.
Sounds pretty easy. How about something with the wild garlic?
Wild garlic pesto is a winner. Super flavorful. You can put it on pasta, sandwiches, as a dip.
Nice. I love that we can use these wild flavors in everyday meals.
Exactly. Makes it easy to incorporate.
But what if we want to keep some for later? Like, can you preserve foraged stuff?
Oh, absolutely. Drying is great for herbs like your garlic, nettles, dandelions. Just bundle them up, hang them upside down somewhere cool and dry, or use a dehydrator if you have one.
So you can have your own wild pantry, basically.
Pretty much, then you can use them in teas, soups, all year round.
Cool. What other ways are there?
Pickling's another good one, especially for fruits and veggies. You can pickle dandelion buds, wild berries, even young nettles.
Pickled dandelions.
Yeah.
Now that's something I got to see. It's amazing how foraging opens up all these new culinary possibilities.
It really does. But it's not just the food, it's the whole experience. The connection to nature, feeling like you've accomplished something.
And that connection to the past, to the people who relied on this knowledge for survival.
It's like we're keeping that tradition alive.
It's powerful stuff. Makes you realize we're part of something so much bigger than ourselves.
Absolutely. And in a world where everyone's glued to their screens, foraging brings us back to what matters.
Well said. Now, before we get into the trickier parts, like the legalities and potential risks of foraging,
Important stuff.
let's hear from some people who've been doing this a while, get some real-world insights.
I love that. Their stories are always so inspiring. Hearing from those folks who are really out there, foraging is the best way to learn, you know?
Yeah, totally. I bet they've got some great stories.
Oh, for sure. Like, one person I talked to, she was telling me about this time she was hunting chanterelles.
Ooh, chanterelles. Those are tricky to find, right?
Notoriously difficult. But she was determined.
I like that.
She had been searching for weeks. No luck. Checked all her usual spots. Even asked other foragers for help, but nothing.
You'd think she'd give up.
Right. But nope. One morning, she decides to try a new part of the forest, one she'd never been to before.
That's brave. What happened?
So she's walking along this barely there trail, and bam, sees that golden glow under some leaves.
Get out of here. A chanterelle patch.
A whole network of them, spreading out everywhere.
Wow. Persistence pays off, huh?
Big time. And it's moments like that that make foraging so special, you know? It teaches you patience, observation.
To really appreciate the process.
Exactly. And I bet those chanterelles tasted even better knowing how hard she'd worked to find them.
Oh, definitely. There's something about foraging your own food that just hits different.
It's like this deep connection to the land, to where your food comes from.
Makes you appreciate it more, I think.
For sure. Speaking of connection, I read about this group of foragers who are actually using their skills to help restore native plants.
Oh, that's cool. How does that work?
So they teamed up with this conservation group, and they go to areas where invasive species have taken over.
I've seen that happen, it's sad.
Yeah, it can be a real problem. So they carefully remove those invasive plants and replace them with native ones they've grown from seeds they've collected.
Wow, so they're not just taking from nature, they're giving back, too.
Exactly. It's like they're actively helping the environment.
And I bet it spreads awareness, too, right?
Totally. They're also teaching people about native plants, the dangers of invasives,
Yeah.
doing walks, workshops.
That's awesome, like a ripple effect of positive change.
Exactly, inspiring others to become stewards of the land.
Love that. Now, you've also talked to foragers about some of the challenges, right? Like, what about the legal stuff? Where can you even forage?
Yeah, that's super important. Laws are different everywhere, so you got to do your research before you go picking anything.
Good point. So, no foraging on private land unless you have permission, right?
Pretty much. Trespassing to forage is a big no-no, both legally and ethically.
Makes sense. What about public lands, like parks?
Those can be tricky. Some might have designated areas for foraging, others might ban it completely. Even if it's allowed, there could be limits on what you can take.
So, always check first, just to be safe.
Always. Got to be respectful of the rules and the environment.
Right. And I imagine there are rules about protected plants, too, right? Endangered species and stuff.
Definitely. You got to know what those are in your area. Picking those can get you in big trouble.
So we've got ethics, legalities, and of course, safety is huge, too. Misidentifying plants is a real danger.
No doubt. Always be cautious. Like we said, multiple ways to ID plants, and if you're not sure, don't risk it.
Better safe than sorry.
Exactly. And be mindful of where you're foraging, too. Stay away from industrial areas, busy roads, places that might be polluted.
And water sources, too, right?
Yep. You don't want to eat anything that's absorbed stuff from contaminated soil or water.
Good points. So we've talked about a lot, from the awesome parts of foraging to things you got to be careful about.
It's a lot to take in.
But it's clear, foraging's not just a hobby, it's like a whole way of life.
It really is. A connection to nature, to our past, and even to our future.
Oh, that's interesting. How so? You mean like with climate change and everything?
Exactly. That's what we'll get into next. How foraging can actually help us adapt to a changing world.
Yeah, that's what I'm curious about. Like, how does this old school thing like foraging fit into our crazy changing world?
Well, it kind of forces us to pay attention, doesn't it?
To what?
To all the little changes happening out there. When things bloom, if certain plants are harder to find, foragers notice that stuff.
Because they're already tuned in, right?
Exactly. So they're like the first line of defense, in a way, seeing how climate change is messing with things.
I was reading about some foragers out west in the Pacific Northwest. They're worried about mushrooms.
Oh, yeah, mushrooms are a big deal out there.
And it sounds like the weird weather, hotter, drier summers, it's messing with the mushroom's growth.
A lot of those species need specific conditions, so yeah, climate change is throwing things off.
It's kind of scary, actually.
Yeah,
Makes you realize how fragile things are.
it is. But it also shows how foraging can be about more than just filling our bellies.
It's about protecting those resources too, right?
Absolutely. Like some foragers are even trying to grow wild mushrooms themselves now.
Indoors.
Yeah, creating the perfect environment so those species can survive even if their natural habitats are struggling.
That's so smart. Like taking action instead of just watching things disappear.
It's ingenuity,
Mhm.
and it proves how valuable the knowledge of foragers is.
They've been observing these plants forever, right?
Generations. So their insights are super helpful for scientists trying to figure this stuff out.
It's like combining old wisdom with new science.
Exactly. The best of both worlds.
And you know what else? Foraging makes our local food system stronger, don't you think?
100%. With all the craziness going on in the world, knowing how to find food locally is huge.
It's like having a backup plan if things go south with grocery stores or whatever.
Right. Less reliance on those big systems that can easily get disrupted.
Plus, way better for the environment, right?
Mhm.
No trucks hauling food across the country, no plastic packaging.
Exactly. Foraging is all about local, seasonal, and that's as sustainable as it gets.
So it's like taking climate action by, well, eating.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Nourishing ourselves and the planet at the same time.
Makes you feel good knowing you're doing something positive.
It does. And you know, in a world that often feels bleak, foraging offers hope too.
How so?
It shows us how resilient nature can be. Like, even with all these challenges, there's still life, there's still abundance out there.
Just gotta know where to look.
Exactly. And that connection to nature, that wonder, it's a powerful antidote to all the negativity, I think.
It's like a reminder that we're part of something so much bigger than ourselves.
And that gives us perspective, helps us stay grounded.
So foraging, it's not going to single-handedly solve climate change, but it's a step in the right direction.
It's about reconnecting, finding resilience, and yeah, holding on to hope.
It's an invitation to, like, step outside the box, rediscover what nature has to offer.
And in doing so, maybe rediscover something in ourselves too.
Well said. So to everyone listening, if you're thinking about giving foraging a try, go for it. But remember, be respectful, be responsible, and have fun.
Learn all you can. Find some experienced foragers to guide you and enjoy the journey.
That's great advice.
Nay.
Well, that wraps up our deep dive into the world of foraging. We hope you've learned something new, maybe even feel inspired to get out there and explore.
Happy foraging, everyone.